Right, good morning. Let's kick off our weekly outlook again. I always start from the top down from the monthly time frame. So not much would have changed since the previous video, but we'll always start up here anyway to explain the larger price action and situation here. So here on the monthly time frame, what was price pushing towards? Well, of course, we've been bullish. We were pushing towards buy side liquidity, and at the moment, of course, this bearish imbalance here, right, which price seems to have reacted off and closed as a high test sort of doji candle. So the bullish momentum died out after we took some buy side liquidity here and went into this imbalance. Now it looks like on the monthly we may start to have a pullback towards the discount. So the discount is shown by this 0.5 marker here, okay, and I believe that price is due some sort of pullback towards this discount imbalance area here as a draw on price. Now this may take place over months, so just to be aware of that. I don't expect this to immediately be drawn towards that price over the next week, right? But this is the situation that we're currently within. I'm expecting a monthly bearish pullback to follow as a higher time frame bias. Okay, so down here in this discount we have a BPR with the overlapping bullish candle and bearish candle here, and then we also have this imbalanced fair value gap here just overlapping the equilibrium and the discount zone. So for those that need it explained, of course price began bullish, right, 2025 from this imbalance here, taking that sell side liquidity, and we've created a bullish leg from this low to this high, and this is our discount where I'm expecting us to pull back towards, right, at this moment in time. So I hope that's clear. So I'm going to go through these higher time frames quickly because they haven't changed much since my previous videos, obviously. So let's go down to the weekly. So here on the weekly, you can see how we obviously was bullish following that monthly momentum there. We are currently sitting around this zone here where we was going sideways in a consolidation since the summer, right? We have our imbalance here, right? That price sort of stayed within, bouncing off of, and our order block that we've been respecting. Okay, 2 weeks ago, we had a bit more of a bearish breakdown, closing below a few of these lows, taking that sell side liquidity. And then last week, we've just had a doji candle here, a bullish doji candle, but you can see that sell side, buy side liquidity on both sides. No one really winning there. So the weekly is a bit less clear. However, I'm expecting a bearish weekly to follow that monthly pullback plan. Okay, so at the minute, price is having some trouble with these order blocks and this imbalance here. However, you can see, like I said, we have reached down quite low. We've taken a lot of this sell side liquidity, which gave us a bit of a bullish reaction. We have some equal lows here. We'll see that a bit more clearly on the daily. And the structure, well, our current dealing range is from this low to this high. So the weekly hasn't yet changed order flow, right? It's not yet bearish really. We'll be confirming that if this low goes here. And we will then be looking a lot more clearer for this monthly pullback down to this imbalance zone here with the BPR, right, which I've labeled here for the high. So immediate targets are this August low, sell side liquidity, and obviously previous weekly lows, right? So I'm expecting price action to continue bearish, okay, but the weekly is a bit less clear, right? Things will be a lot more clearer on the daily. Right, but that's my expectation of the weekly since this high test here, taking this buy side liquidity and bearish PDA or POI up here, right? So price has moved bearish pretty much since then, making lower lows, right? So let's go down to the daily, where for us day traders, the picture will be a lot clearer. Right, so the daily picture here, the order flow division here is a lot more clearer, right? So we have a market maker sell model, right? So we have this buy side curve here and sell side curve here. If you want to look more into that, ICT teaches about that. I'm sure you can look it up online. But obviously this was the side here making higher highs and higher lows. We've topped out at our higher time frame monthly, weekly POI here, and then we've started creating that bearish order flow here to create that sell side curve, right? Price, as you can see, is respecting bearish order flow and POIs, PDAs, right? So at first it's BPR, made that bearish leg, then we confirmed that bearish order flow when we pulled back into this order block, imbalance and overlapping inverted fair value gap here, and then we continue to break down again, right? So coming into this week and last week, right, we create this low, we've pulled back into the premium of this leg, which I said was possible, but I wasn't sure whether it happened or not. but we have very nicely pulled back right into the premium. We've got a very clear BPR here, right, which price spiked up into. We have another inverted fair value gap ranging all the way from back here in September, which price, you can see where it respects it many times, and it looks to be respecting again. And this is also an OTE zone here. You can see 0.79, 0.62. So remember, this is obviously a weekly outlook, so it's not just about trading today. So just to explain here, I've got daily high time frame pulled back to a good premium zone of bearish POIs, and I'm expecting a bearish trend to continue from here this week. So with the main targets to be this previous weekly low sell side liquidity pool, because like I said, we've got the week previous to that and last week having pretty much equal lows there. So that's a nice pool of liquidity to target. So just to clarify what price usually behaves like, of course, is it pulls back to an internal imbalance and then targets external liquidity, right? So internal liquidity to external liquidity, okay? So we can see that that's the flow that price has been continuing this whole time, right? So very strong area, and I've also highlighted Friday's candle because it's a nice bearish high test, which looks like a very clear rejection, which is why I'm also predicting a continuation of that bearish trend to continue. So we're looking at price action, we're looking at POIs, we're looking at candle closures to build that picture. We may see some price stalling here at this fair value gap, which may give like a lower time frame pullback. We'll see what happens there, but obviously this is to be aware of, right? This is where you may get a lower low, lower high, lower low, right? So we expect reactions from these things, but I still expect price to continue going to this previous weekly low, whether it makes it there this week or not. We have this BPR below that, which would be a next target, right, for the top of the BPR or even this sell side liquidity here. But for this week, this is my main target. Previous daily low is obviously very close, so we'll be able to target that today, and then probably this imbalance as well. So if price starts moving bearish today, we'll be looking for the previous daily low and then this imbalance high or equilibrium as well. And then throughout the week, the target will be this previous weekly low. So on the lower time frames, what that would look like is just like this. If this was the hourly, we're looking for trades on the M15, the hourly, M5 that are presenting themselves just like this. All right, so I hope that is very clear. This is the target for the week, the main draw on liquidity for me. This is the overall target in this daily price action as the low that started this buy side pullback here, this buy side liquidity curve, and then this is our sell side liquidity curve. That would be complete once we reached it. Now in the larger scheme of things, of course, we then have the imbalance if prices to continue going in that direction, okay? But for now on the daily, this is the pattern we'll be following, or I'll be following. So let's go down to the 4 hour and see what that looks like. So keeping that daily picture in mind, here we are on the 4 hour. You can see we've had a significant pullback here on the 4 hour, which on the daily was just a pullback to its premium bearish POIs. On the 4 hour and obviously the 1 hour lower time frames, you can see we've been breaking structures here. So the 4 hour is bullish at this moment in time. However, it's not a trend reversal or anything like that to myself, because it's the higher time frame vision. We've just pulled back to a daily POI area where we expect bearish price to continue from. Reading through the 4 hour price action a little bit, this was a daily area, but just on the 4 hour, you can see we had a BPR that price took buy side liquidity from and eventually broke down, right? And then now we bottomed out here and we pulled back on the daily to that area. So there's not much to look at here in terms of 4 hour POIs, but we know this is a high probability daily zone, bearish zone here. So you see this arrow is just showing, right, we're bullish, but what I'm expecting is this bearish price action to enter the market, right, once we prove that we've topped out around this zone here. So no rush into shorts at the moment. I'm going to want to see development here. We have a 4 hour bearish imbalance above. Maybe price will reach into that and then create a clear and obvious lower low, right, and lower high leg here. Now pay attention to that daily pattern. As I mentioned, that market maker sell model, we may see one appear here. So that's how we trade. We trade on the fractals, right? So we created this large buy side curve here, which is great when we get that daily pullback into that premium. We give ourselves a larger fractal on the lower time frames, 4 hour, 1 hour, for us to target for the week, right? Because of this healthy pullback here, now when we get this market maker sell model confirmed, right, by creating our lower lows, lower highs, and respect of our PDAs here on the lower time frame, 4 hour, 1 hour, then we know, right, what our target is for the week, and we have a lot of room and space to trade, to look for high probability trades down to this low. So that's the good thing about this healthy pullback, even if it does confuse you that we've broken above highs and we may now be bullish. Okay, so let's go down to the hourly and see what that picture looks like as well. So nothing special going on at the moment in my opinion. However, like I said, what we're looking for is lower time frames are still bullish overall. PDAs are not yet as clear as I'd like, right? We have this 4-hour one here and this 4-hour/1 hour imbalance here that held price, right, and created this small pullback. So price may need to come above these highs here and use this PDA or maybe an hourly one here, but at the moment it's not super clear. But what we have is this potential market maker sell model, of course, as you can see, right, once price tops out and order flow enters the market. So I said we need more development to align with the daily picture. So the daily picture is bearish, lower time frame still bullish. I'm going to need to start seeing, buy side liquidity sweeps and breakdowns on the hourly, 4-hour, M15 and stuff to create this vision of what we're going for. So we have like weak lows here. You can see this build up of sell side liquidity where it's just a trend line. We have a bit more of it down here as well. So I do see these lows as weak, even here in the recent price action. Right, it is a Monday, so being very patient, just waiting for price to create the order flow we need at the moment. Like I said, we're quite bullish. We want to confirm that this leg here is going to create this sell side curve and bearish price action to target these lows here and previous daily lows, etc. on the way down. So that's what a 1-hour, 4-hour looks like. We'll go to the M15 to see today's price action, but just remember this bigger vision. We're actually targeting this low over the week, right? We're actually following a daily plan, and the lower time frames, we're waiting for that to align with it. We're waiting for some more price action to show that we are going to continue bearish following that daily POI zone, looking to target those previous weekly lows. We don't yet have anything great here. It is a Monday, so I'll be looking for something clear. Alright, M15 as we can see so far. Alright, this is Asia range, this is London. Alright, we're currently in between London and New York kill zones. Price hasn't done much. Of course, it just created this trend line here, took this buy side liquidity above Asia, and then came down and took out some sell side liquidity from the lows of Asia here. And I do think we'd still go on to target these Friday lows here, these previous daily lows for today at least. Okay, but like I said, look, you can see price has just ranged through London. Now we're ranging into this lunch zone here. I would love price to come up and take this buy side liquidity above here. Right, this is just for today, but this is the price action we'll sort of be looking for throughout the week. Take buy side liquidity, break down and leave clear POIs for us. So I'd love price to come up and take this, or even this high here, because it was before the London open kill zone, and then give us the order flow to start targeting these lows here, previous daily lows, or even these week lows here, right? So that would be when the daily and the lower time frames would start to align. Right, we can see we've built up a lot of buy side liquidity here, and price may just use that once we go into New York to sponsor a lower move. So that's what I'll be looking for today. But like I said, remember all these higher time frame visions, remember what the hourly looks like, and especially the 4-hour, as I think that's got more clear POIs at the moment, okay, to create this lower time frame fractal of the higher time frame market maker sell model here. Right, so let's go back to the daily just before we wrap up. So I hope that vision is clear. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Of course, again, we're just looking to continue from this high probability zone here down towards our previous weekly low sell side liquidity. So I'll see you guys next week.